Welcome back to Office Talk. Today's question: how low can you bring your calories to lose weight safely? This is an interesting question because, as we know, dieting is a stressor. The lower you bring your calories, the bigger the deficit, the more stress is being placed on your body, naturally. When we go into a diet, specific hormones, testosterone, thyroid, metabolism, things like that, start to decline. Stress hormones like cortisol typically start to increase. So now we have this kind of hurricane, this disaster at formula of lowering the hormones that we need in order to thrive and increasing the hormones we need to be stressed out and high, intense, and anxiety ridden. So now we're getting into this position where it's becoming harder and harder and harder to diet. That's part of the reason why you can't just diet for months and months on end. If you diet for months and months and months on end, your biofeedback gets worse and worse. It becomes harder and harder to manage the diet, and it becomes harder and harder to recover from that diet, let alone sustain the result that you achieve during that diet. This is also why we typically use diet breaks. And although diet break research is kind of showing that there's not a ton of benefit from a physiological or a hormonal standpoint, there's a lot of psychological benefits from doing a diet break, and indirectly we might see a better result from dieting and adherence long term because we took those diet breaks. So it's still really important. Now, getting back to the question of how low can I take my calories, it's all relative to the individual. There's this thing about 1,200 calories being super low and 1,500 calories being super low for men. That's kind of like the cornerstone numbers people pick. But 1,200 calories is really low. However, if an individual is cutting for stage and they need to get to 95 pounds, that's not really that low. You need to get that low. It's just part of the journey. Whereas a 160-pound female, 1,200 calories is gonna be extremely low. So it's all relative to the height and weight and muscle mass of the individual. How much fat is this person carrying? How much muscle is this person carrying? What is this person's activity? And most importantly, how long has this person been following the diet? So more so focusing on the duration of the diet versus the intensity of the diet. I am much more concerned with how long we are planning to do this diet or how long you've been on this diet than I am with how aggressive we are being with this diet. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people where we do have to be aggressive. We do have to bring you down to 15, 14, 13, 1,200 calories. It's just part of the game. It's part of the grind. But if you're somebody at 1,200 calories and you've been dieting for 24 weeks, now I'm scared. That's 6 months and you haven't taken a break. And this is why it's important to understand the relative individuality of dieting and timelines of fat loss phases, and knowing that it's a phase. Fat loss is not a lifelong journey. It's not a sustainable journey. It is a phase, which means we need to integrate maintenance phases as well. And if you want to really chase physique growth, then a lean gaining phase too, so you can build some muscle and build some strength. But more than anything, for the people who are just wanting to lose fat, you need to approach your diet knowing that this is not indefinite. You are going to get into a deficit. You are going to spend 12 to 24 weeks in that deficit, taking refeeds and diet breaks along the way. And whether you are at your goal or not at 24 weeks, you are then going to take a diet break or maintenance phase. At least a week, if not 6, 8, 12 weeks long of just taking a break, focusing on performance, enjoying life, and then getting back to the diet later. If you can do it this way, you will sustain the result 10 times better. It'll be so much easier to diet and lose weight because your body will be ready to handle that diet, and you won't psychologically hate the process and feel like you're suffering during the diet. So, how low can you take your calories safely? It's hard to say. 1,500 calories for me is different than 1,500 calories for somebody 20 pounds lighter or 20 pounds heavier. It's all relative to the individual. So the best way to tell that if you're dieting too hard is looking at the duration of how long your diet is, and then looking at your biofeedback. How is your sleep? How is your stress management? Are you progressing in the gym or at least maintaining? Because during a deficit, you should try to maintain your performance as much as you can. Are you stressed out more than usual? How is your mood? How is your motivation to train? How is your digestion? There's all these signals our body is giving us that will either tell us A, we are okay, keep going, or B, we are not okay. We are hurting and we need to stop this diet right now, get healthy, and then come back to it later on. And there's nothing wrong with that because that is human evolution. That's just how we work. That's physiology. We will break down, we will burn out, we do need breaks. So at the end of the day, I can't give you an exact number. It's completely individual. I highly suggest tracking your biofeedback, understanding the different phases of a diet long term, and then pre-planning and periodizing that diet to make sure that you don't fall victim to this exact situation.